Welcome to the Zoe People Attendance course. The very first topic we will be handling is settings and restrictions. So let's move right along to general settings. Zoe People fits and complements any organization with unique attendance policies. Learn in depth about setting your company's working hours. Two prime modes of capturing attendance and check-in, check-out settings. You can define your default shift work hours here. To set your basic work hours, navigate from home to attendance, to settings, to general settings. And now that we are at general settings, set the date on which you would like to make your work hours come into effect under Effective From. The attendance settings will be effective based on the date selected. Select the default shift timing for your organization. And remember, your default shift timing has already been set by your organization. Enable or disable scale view. And now for working hours, round off. Let's talk about total hours calculation. While calculating total working hours, you can either set first check-in and last check-out mode, or every valid check-in and check-out mode depending on your organization's working style. First check-in and last check-out. This option calculates the time you first check in and your last check-out time. In the intervening time, you can check in and check out multiple times, which will not be taken into consideration. Every valid check-in and check-out. This option calculates only the valid check-in and check-out entries. For example, if you check in at 9 a.m. and check out at 11 a.m. and again check in at 12 p.m., the system will calculate only the hours you were checked in. Meaning, system will calculate between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. but will not calculate the hours between 11 and 12 p.m. In both these modes, you can have the minimum hours calculated based on the manual input that you give, or based on the duration of the shift. If you choose to have the minimum hours calculated based on the shift hours, then the entire duration of the shift will be taken as the input for a full day, and half of the duration of the shift will be taken as the input for a half day. Zoe People offers two prime modes to capture attendance effectively. You can choose from strict mode and lenient mode, as per organizational requirements, of course. To set your mode of attendance, working hours are assigned according to the selected modes. Lenient mode. It applies in a norm, where the organization doesn't have a rigid mode as the employee needs to mark his attendance at one fixed time every day. In this mode, a valid check-in or check-out in the system itself means that the employee will be marked as present for the day. Strict mode. This goes with the system, where an employee should have completed a fixed number of hours to be marked as present for a half day and full day. This is a preferred mode of attendance marking if the organization does not want flexible hours. Show over or deviation time. You can select this checkbox to show employees overtime and deviation time. In the strict mode, if you have fixed 4 hours as a half day and 8 hours as a full day requirement, if someone is present for 7 hours, the system will capture it as a half day present and a half day absent. Showing the 1 hour deficit under deviation time. If someone is present for 5 hours, then it will be shown as half day present and half day absent, with the deficit 3 hours under deviation time. On the other hand, if someone has worked 10 hours, then it will be shown as full day present with overtime of 2 hours. However, in the lenient mode, if you have fixed 8 hours as minimum working hours required for a day, when an employee works for more than 8 hours, it is calculated as overtime, and anything less than 8 hours is calculated as a deviation. Maximum hours required for a day. You can enable or disable this option. This is used to set maximum working hours for the employees. The maximum working hours can be fixed for both half and full day working. This option is very helpful when you need to set a limit for the working hours. By default, maximum hours is disabled. Click Enable to use this option. If you have enabled overtime for your organization and also enabled maximum working hours, then overtime exceeding the maximum working hours fixed will not be considered as overtime. Round off. This setting enables you to round off attendance check-in and check-out entries to simplify payroll calculations. It can also provide some flexibility for employees when arriving late to or leaving early from work. The organization can set minutes for first check-in. An employee's first check-in entry will be rounded off to the start of the shift time if it falls within the set minutes. Last check-out. An employee's last check-out entry will be rounded off to the end of the shift time if it falls within the set minutes. Total worked hours. An employee's total worked hours will be rounded off to the expected working hours set by the organization if it falls within the set minutes. So, let's take a look at a case used to understand this better. Say an employee belongs to the general shift of 9 to 6 p.m. and the expected working hours in the organization are 8 hours. These are the configurations set under round off. Based on the above configurations, if an employee's first check-in entry is anywhere from 1 minute past 9 a.m. to 10 minutes past 9 a.m., it will be rounded off to 9 a.m. If the employee's first check-in entry is any time after 10 minutes past 9 a.m., it will not be rounded off. If an employee's last check-in entry is anywhere from 10 minutes to 6 p.m. or 1 minute to 6 p.m., it will be rounded off to 6 p.m. However, if the employee's last check out is any time before 10 minutes to 6 p.m., it will not be rounded off. If an employee's recorded working hours are anywhere between 7 hours and 50 minutes to 7 hours and 59 minutes, it will be rounded off to 8 hours. If an employee's recorded working hours are less than 7 hours and 50 minutes, it will not be rounded off. So, a practical use case to understand the 10 minutes. And now for paydays and hours calculation. This setting helps you define whether you would like to include weekends or holidays and leave while calculating the days or hours for pay calculation. If you select to include weekends or holidays or leave, then the payable hours or payable days will be inclusive of the weekends, holidays, and leave in the period. The payable days or hours will reflect under expected payable days or hours. Consider that your total working hours in a week is 5 days. The total expected payable days for a month will be 4 times 5. If you include weekends, it means that your total expected payable days for a month will be the total number of days in the month. If you include leave also here, then the leave applied to paid leave type category for the month will also be included for pay calculation. However, the pay will be made according to the days worked. Hence, the payable days will be the total of worked days and the paid off weekends or holidays or leave. Consider that your total working hours per day is 8 hours. In this case, you have included weekends, then it means your total expected payable hours for a month will be 30 times 8. In other words, the organization expects to pay you for 30 times 8 hours. However, the pay will be made according to the hours worked. Hence, the payable hours will be the total of worked hours or clocked in hours and the paid off weekends or holidays or leave. And now, an explanation of the permissions options. Permissions. Web check-in, check-out. You can make use of this option to enable or disable the option of check-in and check-out on the web. Mobile check-in, check-out. You can make use of this option to enable or disable the option of check-in and check-out through mobile devices. Make location sharing mandatory. Enabling this option allows employees to check in or check out only after they allow access to their location. You can enable this option for mobile, web, or both. Show all check-in, check-out entries. This you can enable or disable. View subordinates entries. Enabling this option helps managers to view the attendance entries of their subordinates. Edit subordinates entries. Enabling this option helps managers to view and edit the attendance entries of their subordinates. If you click Notify, you can also add someone who needs to be notified when subordinate entries are edited. Edit own entries. By enabling this, you give access to your employees to edit their own entries. The reporting manager can be sent a notification if you check the Notify Reporting Manager option. Anyone else who should be notified can be added by checking the Notify option. Apart from this, you can also have an approval configured when attendance entries are edited. Show attendance report page. Here, if you select the Reporting Manager option, then the managers can access all the attendance reports. Edit balance overtime view. The permissions to edit the balance overtime can be set here. Show check-in, check-out location. By enabling this, you can view the check-in, check-out location details of the user. Regularization. Regularization for future dates. Here you can enable or disable regularization for future dates. Regularization can be raised with the number of days from the date to be regularized. Regularization can be raised for the number of days, a week, month, or pay period. In this setting, there are two restrictions. The number of days within which the regularization request can be raised from the date to be regularized is specified here. For example, let us assume that the number of days is specified as 3. If a request needs to be raised for regularizing the entry on the 1st of September, then the request is to be raised on or before the 4th of September. The number of days that the regularization request within the time period chosen can be specified. For example, you can set the time period as week and the days as 2. This will mean that a maximum of 2 days can be raised in a week. This restriction does not apply while admins are making regularizations. Please note, the drop-down menu for time period will only be enabled when a value is entered into the preceding number of times field. A value entered is 0. This will block any regularization requests from being raised. If pay period is chosen as the time period, but no pay period settings have been configured, then the restrictions set will not apply. Reasons for regularization. Configure default reasons for regularization from which the user can choose one. The user is therefore restricted to use one of the available options during regularization. Multiple regularization entries per day. Allow users to regularize many time intervals within a given day. For example, the user can regularize incorrect entries of 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. or belonging to the same day. Export settings. While exporting attendance data, if you want the information to be password protected, you can enable it here. That's it for general settings. See you in the next topic for this course. Thank you.